Good afternoon. How's the volume on this? Is it all right? How many people here realize that this is grassroots? that means that anything can go wrong. And we've had a lot of help from a lot of people today to set up all of this equipment. I'm trying to get around. But we so welcome everyone who's agreed to participate today. I think, you know, so many of us have been so very concerned about the EMS system and about the changes that are proposed and trying to understand the intricacies of it. So we're here today to gather to talk about that. So before we get started, where's Kathy Sorensen? Kathy, would you like to lead us in an opening prayer?
Heavenly Father, thank you so much that as we come together today to learn and to grow, we ask that your presence be here with us. And we thank you for this beautiful day. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. And the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, for many of you, this will be your first encounter with the Tea Party and the Patriots that are involved in this movement across the country. So we're so delighted to interact with you today. And I want to start out by introducing some of the key people that have helped in setting up this today. I'll start right here with Pete Franco. Pete is assistant organizer. Jim Lampy, where's Jim? Jim is back there. Sully Grasso, Sully. Technical. Chuck Graham. Where's Chuck? You know, Chuck is a hoot. I think he showed up to one meeting on this, and was there about a half an hour, about a month ago. And because of him, he got everybody set up, and he got the newspaper to print a paper or a story today. So Chuck is like a magician. I said, gee, I'm glad you came to that half-hour meeting. We have back here Vicki Hines and Kathy Sorensen, and many other people, but these are the key people who have actually gotten together and come together to help plan for this event. And I wanted to just say that this subject, I think that, you know, the quality of life, the impact that the EMS system has on our quality of life, it's so far-reaching, and the changes that we have an opportunity to talk about today, you know, hopefully, I know that this dynamic is going to lead us into probably the next 20 years, probably the rest of our life, as far as the changes that might come about in the next year or two. And, you know, hopefully we can talk about something that is cost-effective, that serves the public, because that is what we're all here to do, is to serve the public. and to try to make sure that we're delivering the most cost-effective solution that we can do, while at the same time, of course, if it's your grandchild or if it's your husband or your wife, obviously everybody wants the best. So that's exactly what we're here to talk about today. Unfortunately, you know, we were talking the other day about mission creep. And who was it? Jim was accusing me of mission creep. And he was right, because we start talking about stuff, then before you know it, gets bigger and bigger, and then it's off on this and that, and this level, and pretty soon, you know, you have to kind of rein things back, and I think that's where we are on a lot of things. And because of the economy, departments and systems and programs and cities and states, and certainly the country, have had to pull back on all their mission creep, and have to recheck things. But I just want to start with a story I heard this week at church, actually, which I thought was so cute and so appropriate for this today. And that was the story about about 100 years ago, when cities just started to really grow and become so big, you know, major cities like New York and Chicago. And before that, of course, the people were basically rural and living out on farms and self-sustaining, which we may be doing again soon, huh? And the family came into New York City, a farming family came into New York City, and they'd never been to such a place. It was like going into Oz. And all of them made the big buildings and so forth. And so the family went into one of the largest buildings that there was in New York City, one of the tallest skyscrapers, which at that time was a bank. And they walked into the lobby, you know, they'd never seen such grandeur and such splendor as the lobby of this bank. And so that they were all walking around different, looking at paintings and so forth. And one of the father and the daughter kind of wander over, and they see this elderly woman who's a little heavy, a little overweight, on a cane, standing in front of two big metal doors. And so she reaches up and she pushes a button, and they're just watching, they're just entranced, they don't know what she's doing. She pushes a button, and these doors open. And this lady gets in with her cane, gets into the elevator, and the doors close. And then this dial over the door starts going like this, 7, 8, 30, 35, 40, and it stops. And then it starts coming back down. And the door's open, and this beautiful young woman gets out. And the father says, "Susie, go get Mom." So with that, we'll start our talk today. And the speakers right now are seated in the front row, and each one will have 15 minutes to present their presentation. And at the conclusion of that, they'll come to this table, and at that point we'll move all of this away, and we'll have questions and answers. The committee has structured some questions that I'll be asking the group of speakers, and you know, and then we'll take some questions from the audience. So with that, let's introduce the speakers. And the first speaker, you can stand up, and then would be Nancy Bostock. I'm sorry. Commissioner Nancy Bostock will be giving an overview of the current situation. And thank you so much for coming, Captain Jim Milliken from Leelman Fire Department. Thank you. And then your partner in this project is Scott Sanford.
He's working.
And he's working today, okay. And from Sunstar Ambulance, we have Chief Administrative Officer Debbie Bass. Thank you, Debbie. And Debbie has an associate with her also today that she'll introduce. And from the County Administrator's Office, we have Maureen Freeney. Thank you, Maureen. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Nancy Bostock. By the way, let me say that you can use this, and then later we have this that we can put up here. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Barbara. And before I address the topic of EMS, I'm just going to take a little quick moment of personal privilege and thank everyone in the room who's been helping me with my election campaign, for all the petitions you've been helping me gather, for all the folks who are helping me on Tuesdays at the polls. If by chance there's somebody in this room who has not yet signed a petition to help me get my name on the ballot, there's a stack on the table by the door. Please, please, please do not leave tonight without signing one. Consider taking a few home with you getting them signed by friends and neighbors, mailing them back in to me. If you are volunteering for me on Tuesday, thank you, thank you, thank you. If I've not yet gotten you all your materials out in the car, don't leave today without getting them. And if you have a few hours on Tuesday, and I've been negligent and haven't asked you yet, and you're willing to volunteer a couple hours Tuesday at the polls for me, please let me know that before we leave too, because it's going to be a great effort on Tuesday. We're going to get a lot of petitions collected, and I thank you all for your help with that. Now I'm going to put my campaign hat off and put my commissioner hat back on. And I don't have 15 minutes. I'm just going to give a very brief overview, and we're going to spend our time with the subject matter experts instead. But imagine you are driving down the road, like we all do, countless times each week, and out of nowhere, a speeding car crashes into yours. The next thing you know, you open your eyes, and there's a paramedic kneeling next to you, administering emergency medical aid. Or you're watching TV one night with your husband, and he complains of a sudden headache, and then has trouble speaking at all. He indicates that his arm hurts, and he knows one side of his face seems to look a little different, and you immediately call 911 for help. Or your grandmother's nursing home calls, and they are concerned about her increasing discomfort and her disorientation, and they tell you that they are sending her to the hospital. Pinellas County Emergency Medical Services, even when we don't need them for ourselves in situations like that, we are thankful and we all rely on these good folks who are there for all of us, just in case. Today, we are going to hear from some of the leaders responsible for these very important services, and some of the issues that we are wrestling with are going to receive a more in-depth look here. Some of the key issues. What is the appropriate level of service for our community? Who should deliver those services? And how should we pay for the increasing costs of these important services? Currently, Pinellas County contracts with our local fire departments to provide the medical first responder services on a county-wide basis through our duly trained firefighters and paramedics. The fire departments are funded by city taxes or in the unincorporated areas by a separate ad valorem tax that the county or the fire district assesses. Pinellas County also contracts with Paramedics Plus, which operates under the name of Sunstar, for the transportation emergency transport services sometimes needed after that first response. Pinellas County funds these services in two ways. First, the fees that are assessed to the patients who receive transport to the hospital, and secondly, through the EMS taxes assessed on the properties. And just to give us a little bit of framework as we go into this important discussion, I did a little bit of research. Now, these numbers that I'm going to share with you, it's not any kind of secret. I'm not spilling the beans with some county commission secret information. All public record. I did it on my computer at home through the property appraiser's website. I looked up one of your members' homes here in Pinellas County, one of your most prominent members, and that member last year paid $9,025 in total county property taxes, of which 341 of those dollars were on the EMS line. I looked up another member who I haven't seen here today, but who goes to a lot of these meetings, who lives same city but across the town, and that member pays $4,707 total property taxes a year, 174 of which is specifically for EMS. I looked at my home, $6,400 with $288 for EMS. I looked up a friend who lives in a small mobile home in Mid-County, and she pays $145 total property tax to Pinellas County, or to all the entities in Pinellas County, and we'll be clear on that. $7.68 of which goes to the EMS fund. I looked up a friend's very modest home very near here, and that family pays $945 total property tax, of which $21 goes to the EMS fund. I looked up the most upscale home I could think of up in Bel Air. And there is one family in Pinellas County, and this isn't even necessarily the highest number, it was just the highest one I could think of. That family pays $117,295.93 a year in total property tax. One family. And of that pot, $4,500 goes to the EMS line. I looked up another upscale home over here in St. Petersburg on Snell Isle, just over $43,000 a year in total property tax, of which $1,600 goes to the EMS fund. I started to look up some of my friends who rent, but of course they don't pay the tax directly. some portion of that is in their rent, but you don't know how the market forces are going, and so that's kind of all